If you've spent any time in the metal production forums, you've seen this debate 1,000 times. Does your amp sim or does your IR have a bigger impact on your final guitar tone? Nobody ever actually tests it. So I set up a controlled experiment using the Bogren Digital Ampknob series. And honestly, the results might surprise you. Here's how I set this up. Picture this, because it's probably going to sound familiar. You're in your DAW, you've got your DI signal tracked, and you're staring at your plugin folder trying to figure out whether it's worth buying another amp sim when you already have 5. Meanwhile, your IR folder has one free pack you grabbed 2 years ago. Does any of this sound familiar? That's what this test is actually about. I'm using 3 Bogren Digital Ampknobs, the 5169, the Rev C, and the Trivium Rhythm. I picked these specifically because they are intentionally simple. One knob, no hidden EQ, no presence control, no extra variables, just the amp character. First test, all 3 amp sims through the exact same IR. The York Audio MES 212 V30 Mix 1. Same DI, same gain level, same everything. Only variable is the amp sim. Second test, I'm flipping it. 1 amp, the Trivium Rhythm, through 3 different IRs. The York Audio MES 212 V30 Mix 1, the modern cab built into the plugin, and the vintage cab also built in. Same amp, 3 IRs. And at the end, I'm giving you my verdict. And before we get into this, I'm not here to rank these amp sims against each other. The Bogren Ampknob series is genuinely excellent across the board. What I'm testing is something more fundamental, the relative impact of each component on your final sound. Because if you understand which one is doing the heavy lifting, it completely changes where you spend your money and your time. All right, round 1. 3 amp sims, 1 IR. Let me show you what I mean in real time. This one feels aggressive and punchy to me. It's got a little rawness to it, and it really leans into that classic high-gain metal amp character. This one sounds a little bigger and a little grindier. It's got more of that thick, chewy thing happening, so the character feels a bit different, even though it's the exact same IR. This one feels the most modern and controlled. It's tighter, more focused, and just has slightly more polished character overall. Each one has a distinct character, and there are real differences you can hear. But here's what I want you to pay attention to. The overall cabinet sound, the room feel, the top-end definition, the way the cab is breathing. That's staying remarkably consistent across all 3, because they're all going through the exact same IR. That's not a coincidence. That's exactly the point. Let me play all 3 back-to-back so you can really focus on this. Before round 2, if you're finding this useful, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this kind of content reach more producers who need it. Now let's flip the test, because this is where it gets really interesting. Round 2, the same amp the whole time, the Trivium Rhythm. I'm only changing the IR. That's our reference, the York Audio MES 212 V30 Mix 1. This one feels balanced to me. It's got a nice mix of clarity, bite, and low-end weight. This is what we've been using as the bass line in round 1. Same amp, same gain, same DI. Only the IR changed. And you hear that? The top end opens up differently. The low end shifts. The whole texture of the guitar is different. It's not a subtle difference. That's a fundamentally different sounding guitar. And with the vintage cab, that's a completely different sonic universe than the York Audio. It's thinner, it's more mid-forward, and the attack is a bit more aggressive. Put that in a modern metal mix, and it's going to behave totally differently. It's going to need completely different EQ moves to sit right. Let me play all 3 back-to-back so you can really hear the difference. Now go back and compare round 1 to round 2. In round 1, swapping amp sims gave you variations on a theme, real differences, but they lived in the same neighborhood. In round 2, swapping IRs moved you between entirely different neighborhoods. And that tells you something really important about where your tone actually lives. Here's what this test is actually telling you. Your amp sim controls the gain structure, the dynamic response, and the feel. It's how the amplifier reacts to your pick attack. It's the difference between something that feels stiff and lifeless versus something that breathes. Your IR controls the cabinet character, the room, and the overall color of your tone. It's the difference between tight and modern versus warm and vintage. And as you just heard, those differences are massive. This is a thing that most home metal producers get wrong. They spend 90% of their research time obsessing over amp sims and treat IRs like an afterthought, a free pack, a built-in option, whatever came with the plugin. But based on what you just heard, I'd flip those priorities. A great IR through a solid amp sim is going to sound better than a mediocre IR through the most expensive amp sim in the world. The York Audio MES 212 V30 Mix 1 sounds that good because it was captured by someone who knows how to position a mic in front of a real Mesa cabinet. That's real-world information baked into the file. You can't manufacture it in software. So, does your amp sim or your IR have a bigger impact on your tone? Based on this test, your IR, and it's not even close. But the real test is how it sounds in a mix, right? Let me show you. The York Audio drops into the mix almost immediately. The modern cab cuts through more, but sounds like it'll need some EQ to fit in the mix. And the vintage cab has its place, but it's fighting a modern metal production more than the others. This is the sound you've been chasing, and now you know exactly where it comes from. Let's recap. First, 3 amp sims through the same IR gave you variations in gain, character, and feel. Real, audible differences, but they lived in the same sonic neighborhood because the cabinet stayed the same. Second, the same amp through 3 different IRs changed your entire guitar sound. Cabinet character, room feel, low-end definition, top-end presence, all of it shifted dramatically between the 3 options. Third, if you're building out your amp sim rig, invest in quality IRs first. The York Audio MES 212 pack is genuinely excellent, and it's going to do more work for your tone than another amp sim plugin. Now go make your guitar sound massive. If this video helped you out, hit the like button, subscribe for more content just like this, and let me know in the comments, which amp sim and IR combo are you running right now? I want to see your setups. If you want to go even deeper on the amp sim side, now that you know that your IR is doing the heavy lifting on the cabinet character, your gain structure on the amp itself becomes even more critical. I made a whole video on the single biggest gain mistake home metal producers make, and it's probably something you're doing right now. I'll put it right here. Watch that next. And if you want to take your metal recordings further, I've got a free guitar and bass DI recording guide. Link is in the description. It covers everything from gain staging your DI to getting clean professional tracks before you ever touch an amp sim. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.